Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. We will begin Unit 2 of Mass Transfer Operations today. Yes. Okay. Unit 2 of your Mass Transfer Operations is regarding distillation. Okay. The extension of this unit is Unit 3, which is also a fractionating column. Okay. The continuous distillation column we will be discussing in Unit 3. Whereas the normal distillation is a simple or flash distillation. So some derivations of a continuous distillation we will see in the unit 2 first. So as you can notice here, your unit 2 is titled as distillation. Okay, then you have to study in this chapter the basics of distillation, vapor liquid equilibrium, which you might have seen in the thermodynamic operations. Um, okay, then vapor liquid equilibrium and some principles like the Raoult's law, Avogadro's law, Dalton's law. Okay, you might have seen in the CPP course earlier. Okay, this first one is the flash distillation. Okay, this flash distillation you have to study. Then a fractionation, you will completely a fractionation evaluation of this fractionating column you will study in the unit 3. Whereas the basics regarding this flash fractionation column you will study in unit 3. Then simple distillation, so nothing but a batch distillation you have to study here, and a steam distillation you have to study in unit 2. Let's see what are the contents involved in the unit 2. So first one, the introduction about distillation, what is about distillation, etc. We will discuss what is the mechanism, what is the separating agent, what type of components involved in the distillation column. Everything we will see in the introduction. Then the next one is vapor liquid equilibrium. So vapor liquid equilibrium, what is vapor liquid equilibrium? Okay, it is nothing but a relationship between a components, various components and their thermodynamic characteristics, thermodynamic phases, different phases, vapor and liquid phase. The relationship between among them will be defined by a vapor liquid equilibrium. Okay, equilibrium is nothing but a ultimate point which the systems cannot change, or nothing but attainment of a chemical potential. Completely a chemical potential has been acquired. The system has been acquired a complete chemical potential. At what vapor fractions, or the what vapor or liquid mole fractions the particular form of liquid will exist, like a liquid or a vapor, whether it is existing in a liquid form or whether it is existing in a vapor form, we can define using their mole fractions or the volume fractions, anything above. Based on those experimental values, we will define the phase diagrams. Okay, phase diagram is nothing but a example for this vapor liquid equilibrium. Okay, you might have seen the phase diagram of a pure water. Okay, one is the solid form, liquid form, then vapor form. Triple point will be there, at which all the three forms will be in a combined state. Okay, that's the basic example for the vapor liquid equilibrium, which is phase diagram of pure water. This is for a pure component, whereas in distillation, more than one component is required, because distillation is the purification operation. So in the purification operation, what we have to do, we have to purify. Okay, when we do the purification work, when there is more than one component only, we are having a task of separating that individual components, or a purification of one component from the another. So distillation refers to the separation of a mixture, separation of a component from a mixture. Okay, single or more than one component, but at least two components are needed in order to carry out a distillation operation. Okay, you will study what are the equilibrium relationship between the vapor phase and the liquid phase. We will study that. Then the next one is relative volatility and boiling point diagrams. Okay, relative volatility. What is the relative volatility? First of all, what is the volatility? Volatility is nothing but a system property, or a particular compound property, by which how much easy to vaporize that particular component is called volatility. Okay, when we apply some change to a system, by how much easy, by how much quantity of energy is required in order to vaporize that particular component is called a volatility. Then what is the relative volatility? Relative volatility is nothing but, in distillation, I already said, in the distillation more than one component is involved. Usually the component which is called as a solute, if you consider the solution, feed is a solution, In the distillation, in particularly in the distillation, we will consider the more volatile component as our solute and less volatile component as our solvent. Okay, solution is equal to solute plus solvent. Okay, in this category we can define the solution. But in distillation, particularly in distillation, uh, the component which is more volatile is called a solute. The component which is less volatile is called a solvent. So in the distillation, these two components, solute and solvent, both will have a some volatility. Okay, some vaporizing characteristics. Okay, some system changing property it will have. So we have to relate both. For example, A and B components are there. Okay, A is more volatile and B is a less volatile. Okay, though these two have a volatility. Okay, for example, I already said this A is having a more volatile and B is having a less volatile. But when these two are mixed with each other, A plus B, okay, mixed with each other, so how the volatility of A is influencing the volatility of B, and how the volatility of B is influencing the volatility of A. So that is nothing but a relative volatility. Okay, by definition, volatility is nothing but a system property or a particularly a compound property which we can easily evaporate, or we can easily convert the liquid component to the vapor component. How easy it is to convert a liquid component to vapor component is nothing but a volatility. But when there are more than one component in a system, then how the particular one component volatility is influencing the other component volatility is known as a relative volatility. Okay, then we have a vapor liquid equilibria, for example, TXY diagram or PXY diagram. Okay, TXY diagram or PXY diagram. In those diagrams, you will see what is the boiling point diagram. Okay, how we can determine the pure component boiling point, how we determine the mixture of components boiling point when the particular solution is mixed with the different components. So that is nothing but a boiling point diagram we will study in this one. The next one is the Raoult's law. Okay, Raoult's law and Henry's law concept. Okay, these two are the concepts which are based on ideal solutions and the dilute solutions. Raoult's law is applicable for the ideal solution. Then what does that mean by ideal solution? Raoult's law is stating that partial pressure, okay, partial pressure of any component is proportional to the mole fraction. Um, partial uh, Partial pressure of any component is equal to mole fraction into vapor pressure of that particular component. It is saying Raoult's law. So this is called a Raoult's law. When the system particular solution obeys this Raoult's law, it is called an ideal solution. Okay, Raoult's law is saying partial pressure is equal to vapor pressure into mole fraction in liquid phase. Whereas Raoult's law for the vapor phase is partial pressure is equal to total pressure into mole fraction. Okay, we will see that one. But Raoult's law is applicable for the ideal solutions. Whereas Henry's law we already seen in the first unit in the diffusion chapter. Henry's law is stating that partial pressure is directly proportional to the mole fraction of that particular component, in which the proportionality constant is capital H, which is called Henry's law constant. So Henry's law is applicable for the dilute solution. When mole fraction in the liquid phase is nearly approaching 0, then Henry's law is applicable. When mole fraction of the liquid phase, XA, is approaching towards the unity, towards 1. Okay, mole fractions, we already know mole fraction will vary in between 0 and 1. Okay, when mole fraction is going towards 1, it is nearly equal to 1, then that is called an ideal solution. Then this Raoult's law is applicable. When mole fraction XA is going towards the 0, okay, towards the 0 or nearly equal to 0, then we can apply the Henry's law. That is nothing but a dilute solution. Here it is an ideal solution, here it is a dilute solution. So we will differentiate the concept, how these laws are applicable. We will see them. Then the next topic is types of distillation. Okay, there are various types of distillations. One is a batch distillation, which is also called as a simple distillation. Then the second one is a flash distillation, which is also called as an equilibrium distillation. And the third one is a fractionation or a continuous distillation or a rectification. Okay, all these names are same. Continuous distillation or a fractionation or a rectification, everything is same. So continuous distillation, the third one, and the fourth one is the steam distillation. Then here comes the azeotropic distillation, then extractive distillation, then vacuum distillation. These are all the types of distillations we have. Out of these, in particularly in the unit 2, you will see what is the batch distillation. First one, the batch distillation or a simple distillation it is called. So in which one derivation is there, which is called a Rayleigh's equation. So this batch distillation is also called as simple distillation and is also called as a Rayleigh's distillation, because this other, this particular man Rayleigh has been derived the derivation, given a derivation for this batch distillation. So in this batch distillation, you have a derivation. So it is a little bit complex, but it is okay. We will derive that one. So a Rayleigh's equation we will derive. So next one is a flash distillation. Okay, flash distillation is also called as the equilibrium distillation, or is also called as a um, single stage operation. Okay, single stage operation or a single plate operation, in which you will have a derivation, and then you will see what is the operating line for the particular distillation, flash distillation column. So you will see the operating line as well as a discussion about flash distillation. Then the next one is a continuous distillation. Okay, in the continuous distillation, the top section is called a rectifying section and bottom section is called a stripping section. So you'll see in detail what is the rectifying section, what is the stripping section in the continuous column, and its material balance, overall material balance of the continuous distillation column you have to perform for the rectifying section, which is the top section, for the bottom section, which is the stripping section. For both these, there are basic two equations, two operating line equations, we can say. That operating lines equation, using those operating line equations, how can we calculate, we can evaluate the particular continuous distillation column. Okay, it has many industrial applicability. This continuous distillation column, it has many industrial applicabilities. So we need to know how this distillation column is evaluated, how this distillation column is designed. Okay, design principles, all the design principles in there, it is involved. Okay, we can estimate how many plates are required, equilibrium stages are required. Okay, you'll see in this continuous distillation column and its material and energy balance. Then the last topic in the unit 2 is the steam distillation. Okay, there is no derivation in this one. In the steam distillation, you will only study about the principle and its working details, one figure and its working details, and what are the principle involved, why we have to go for the steam distillation apart from these normal distillations like a flash distillation, batch distillation, or the continuous fractionation. Why we have to go for the steam distillation? So we have to differentiate in between those distillation units. So these are the overall contents in your unit 2. Then first the definition, we'll see what is the distillation. Okay, as you can notice here, the distillation, you're seeing here a still pot is there, one pot is there in which the components, some components has been filled, whether it may be a single component or it may be a mixture of components. Okay, for the distillation to carry out, it must be a more than one component. For example, here the methanol is there, methanol plus water is there. So we already know methanol is having a low boiling point. Low boiling point indicates that it is having a more volatility. Okay, it is more volatile. Low boiling point components are a highly volatile. Sorry, the high volatile components are nothing but a very low boiling point, whereas um, low volatility components are known as to be for the high boiling point. So whenever the components are there, for example, this is the methanol plus water. What happens in methanol plus water? Methanol is a more volatile component compared to the water. Though they both are the volatile components, but methanol will have a high volatility compared to the water. Okay, in the other sense, we can say water will have a high boiling point compared to the methanol. So volatility is high. Here methanol is a solute and water is a solvent. So we have to separate methanol from the water solution. Methanol plus water solution, we have to separate methanol. So in order to do so, we will ignite that pot. The mixture will be heated down. Then whatever the vapors will form will come into this condenser. These vapors, using the coolant, surrounding cooling water through the coils, cooling water which is flowing through the coils, it will be condensed. Therefore, what we can conclude from this one, distillation is nothing but a combination of operation in which vaporization is also taking place, at the same time condensation is also taking place. So distillation is nothing but a operation in which vaporization of a constituent elements is taking place together with a condensation of that vapors to a liquid form. So this is the distillation. So technically we can define the distillation as preferential separation of a more volatile component, or we can say this more volatile component is nothing but having a high vapor pressure or having a low boiling point. Okay, preferential separation of more volatile component from the less volatile ones in a feed solution. Okay, I already said the example. If this solution is a methanol plus water, the more volatile component is a methanol and less volatile component is a water. So our primary task is to separate a more volatile component here, which is a methanol, and less volatile component is the water. So primary task is to separate methanol from the water. So this is the technical definition of the distillation. So distillation, okay, once again I will repeat the definition. It is the preferential separation of the more volatile component from the less volatile component in a feed solution by partial vaporization and followed by condensation. This is a partial vaporization. We are not completely vaporizing entire content of this the mixture of this solution. Okay, only the part of this is vaporizing. That's why it is a partial vaporization and it is condensation followed by condensation in order to obtain a liquid. So it involves a change of state from the liquid here in the feed solution, liquid to vapor. Here it is converting into liquid to vapor and again to liquid. From this vapor to condensed into the liquid. So this is the change of state from the liquid to vapor and then this vapor to liquid is a complete technical definition of a distillation. So okay, the vapor produced is rich in the more volatile component. Obviously, when we heat some of the mixture, the component which is having a low boiling point or a more volatile will be just vaporized. So the mixture, the vapor will contain more volatile component more compared to the mixture which is present in the distillation column. So vapor will contain vapor will be rich in the more volatile component. The distribution of this component, okay, the distribution of components, whether it may be a more volatile or whether it may be less volatile. Like for the example, this is a methanol plus water. So distribution of methanol and water in both the phases. Here the two phases are involved. One is the liquid phase and other one is the vapor phase. The distribution of these components, methanol and water, in both the phases, okay, is governed by the vapor liquid equilibria. Okay, vapor liquid relationship. Okay, vapor liquid equilibria between among these two phases. Okay, so we have to study, because of this relationship only we have to study what is the vapor liquid equilibria. Okay, without vapor liquid equilibria we can't separate, we can't design the distillation column. So vapor liquid equilibria is the heart. We can say it is a heart. Using that we can design and operate the distillation column. So important variables that affect the phase equilibrium, the equilibrium existing between vapor and liquid, uh, uh, vapor and liquid is called a phase equilibrium. So okay, among these phases, how the equilibrium will be affected? Only the important components are temperature, pressure, and composition, whether it may be a vapor composition or whether it may be a liquid composition. Okay, these parameters will have a strong effect, very strong effect on the equilibrium in modifying the equilibrium between vapor and liquid composition. Okay, there are three parameters. One is the pressure. One thing, in order to disturb the equilibrium existing between vapor and liquid, we have to vary whether the pressure we have to vary, whether the temperature we have to vary, or the concentration. The concentration, whether it may be a liquid concentration, whether it may be vapor concentration. The concentration of A, methanol, or concentration of B, water. Okay, anything we have to vary in order to disturb the equilibrium existing between vapor and liquid. So the important parameters, the important variables that affect the phase equilibrium in distillation are temperature, pressure, and concentration. Then what is the separating agent for distillation? Okay, here the separating agent is nothing but we are not at all supplying the other components here. Okay, this is the feed. For this feed, what we are just applying, we are just supplying heat to it. So the separating agent in the distillation is the heat, just heat. Then the separating factor is the relative volatility. Okay, volatility is a property which indicates how easy the particular component can be converted from liquid to vapor. So relative volatility between one component to another component is the separating factor, whereas separating agent is the heat here. Then the mechanism in the distillation is nothing but addition of heat. Okay, here the addition of heat. So in the distillation, addition of heat is the mechanism. And in the condensation, the removal of heat is the mechanism in order to condense that particular vapors to the liquid. So the mechanism in distillation is both addition of heat and removal of heat, whereas separating factor is the relative volatility of various components and the separating agent is just heat. When we ignite this mixture, then only heat will be generated. That heat will be act as the agent, separating agent, in order to separate the more volatile component from the less volatile component. So this is the definition, overall definition of the distillation. Here what is taking place? Vaporization is taking place, and next one is the condensation is taking place. Then we can have a doubt that how the vaporization, how the evaporation is different from distillation. What is evaporation? Evaporation is nothing but a vaporization of a more volatile component from the non-volatile solute. Okay, vaporization of a more volatile solvent from the relatively non-volatile solute is called a evaporation. Moreover, in the evaporation, if you consider, if you neglect this condenser term, so this is evaporation. Okay, this is vaporization or evaporation we call in general. So evaporation, what is taking place in the evaporation? If you consider this as a juice solution, okay, some juice is there. Okay, what will happen? The sugary solution or the sugary juice, whatever it will be there. The volatility between the sugar and that particular water will be very far away. So in the evaporation, what we will do, just we will remove that water by just heating that solution. So the water is more volatile. Okay, that is called a more volatile solvent from the relatively non-volatile solute. Here in the evaporation, the solute is a non-volatile, whereas the solvent is a more volatile. That's why we are just separating the water from the juice. Okay, that is called evaporation. Moreover, the condenser will not be there in the evaporation. Only we will just vaporize that water, and vapors will be left to the atmosphere. So that is a evaporation. But in distillation, vaporization is also there, and condensation of that vapors to the liquid is there. Two-phase transition is there. One is the liquid phase to gas vapor phase, and vapor phase to the liquid phase is there. Whereas in the evaporation, what will happen? Liquid phase to the vapor phase is there. There is no condensation part in the evaporation. So the major difference between the distillation and evaporation is, in evaporation, more volatile component will be separated from the less volatile component. Whereas in the distillation, more volatile component will be separated from the less volatile component. Whereas in the evaporation, the more volatile solvent will be separated from the non-volatile, relatively non-volatile solute. Okay, that is called a that is the difference between the evaporation and distillation. So here we will see what are the applications for the distillation. Why we have to use those applications. Just yeah. Okay. Yeah. Applications. What are the applications, or what are the uses for the distillation column? We have to study. Then the first application among those is distillation of fermented products to give alcohol. If you see here, the distillation, the fermentation will be carried out in order to produce the alcohols like ethanol. Okay, ethanol we have to produce. We can produce from the corn, or we can produce from the rice and everything. We can produce the ethanol after fermentation using some bacteria, Pseudomonas bacteria or something. We can produce the produce the alcohol. How the alcohol is produced? By just consuming the bacteria, the bacteria whatever fed into this, it will consume that particular raw material, corn or a rice. Then what will happen? That Acetomonas or Pseudomonas bacteria will convert that particular raw material to some liquefied form. That liquid, we need to separate that liquid from the water, because the concentration of alcohol in the overall composition of that whatever the product obtained is very less. So we need to concentrate that. We need to extract the pure alcohol from the rest of the other components. So after fermentation, whatever the product is there will be fed to the distillation column. It is a pot still, or nothing but a what we call a simple distillation, or a batch distillation. After that, for the advantage of obtaining a pure alcohol, we will just fed that product into the continuous distillation column. Then what will happen? The more volatile component, obviously the water, is separated from the rest of the water. So we can concentrate the alcohol. So the pure alcohol we can just pour into the bottle. So first application is the fermentation product to alcohol, the separation of alcohol from the fermentation product. Then the next one is the desalination of the water. Desalination is nothing but removal of salts from the water. Okay, here also heat is just we are just supplying heat to the salinated water, okay, sea water. Then this sea water, the pure water will be vaporized and was leaving behind the salts in the still. Then this water will be condensed in the condenser here by supplying the cooling water. Then the fresh water we can obtain. So distillation will have an application in the seawater desalination also. Then the next major application is the petroleum industry is the major major industry which will use the services of a distillation. Many types of distillations are present in the petroleum industry. For example, whenever the crude oil is obtained, you can see this is this one is in US. It is this crude oil is usually referred to as black gold. Okay, this crude oil will contain many petroleum components, many petrochemical components. Okay, in order to separate the many useful quantities from this crude oil, the first operation is the desalting operation. Okay, whatever the salts are present, we will desalt. We will just remove the salts, and after that, the distillation process is the main operation. The first distillation operation is the atmospheric distillation operation. So after passing through the atmospheric distillation operation, the products like this one is obtained. LPG. First product is LPG because it is more volatile. The first separation agent is LPG. Then the petroleum ether will be formed. Then next one is the naphtha will be formed. Then kerosene will be coming. Kerosene will be coming. Then diesel oil will be coming. Then the heavy oils after coke. Okay, residues will become in this one coke. Everything will be present. So these are the products will be obtained using the distillation only. After obtaining all this one, the crude whatever the residue left is sent to the vacuum distillation unit. That is also one type of distillation, vacuum distillation below atmospheric pressure. The distillation which is carried out below the atmospheric pressure is known as a vacuum distillation. So here if you can see clearly how important is the distillation operation for the petroleum industry. So fractionation of crude oil is the important application for the distillation. Then the next one is the cryogenic distillation or the low temperature distillation we can call. Low temperature distillation of air to separate oxygen, nitrogen and argon. So how the oxygen and nitrogen is separated from nitrogen or argon can be separated from the air using the cryogenic distillation or the low temperature distillation only we can separate this separate the components from the air. Okay, in this way the argon or nitrogen can be obtained, oxygen cylinders can be obtained. Then the next application is the distillation of herbs for perfumes and medicinals. Whatever the herbs are there, the more volatile, components which are present in the herbs and the stems or roots of the plants. So the more volatile component will be extracted using the distillation only. Okay, in the manufacture of vegetable oils and everything, in the CT2, you have seen the how we extracted, how we leached the oil, from the seeds. Okay, that is nothing but a leaching operation. After obtaining that oil, there may be some presence of water. That water we have separated, that we have purified that vegetable oil from the water using a distillation operation. Therefore, we can say the distillation operation can be used to extract some of the valuable components from the plants or like medicinal or for the perfumeries, and at the same time some volatile components from the essential oils is the best example. From the various vegetable drugs we can obtain the volatile oils. Then separation of a volatile substance from the less volatile impurities. Okay, nothing but examples of essential oils. Then separation of, in general, every application concerning the distillation is the separation of one liquid from one or more other liquids differing in the vapor pressure or differing in the volatility or differing in the boiling points, we can say. So everything is the same. Okay, separation of one constituent element from the another constituent element. Any type of operation which is doing this operation, separation of one constituent element from other constituent element based on their vapor pressure or a boiling point or a relative volatility is known as a distillation. Everywhere the distillation will find a application. That's why the distillation is known as a workhorse of a chemical industry. In every chemical industry, it is a main part. Distillation is the main part. That's why this distillation is known as a workhorse of a chemical industries. for the application. Then evaporation. I already said you what is the evaporation. The difference between the evaporation is both are the vaporization operations only. Okay, evaporation. Let us see what is the difference. It is the process of vaporization of a solvent from a solution to get concentrated product. So vaporization is the main mechanism in evaporation also. Then in the distillation, it is the separation of a constituents of a liquid mixture by vaporization and again condensation. Okay, this step is lacking in the evaporation, whereas this step is having in the evaporation. So major difference is the major mechanism is the vaporization in both evaporation and distillation, but additional step here is the condensation in the distillation. So vapors are not collected because I already said you the example is a juice concentration. In the juice concentration, whatever the water is obtained is just left to the atmosphere. So vapors are not collected. Vapors are useless in the evaporation process. Whereas in the distillation, vapors are the main products. It will be collected as a distillate. It will be collected as a distillate and condensed in order to produce a more volatile or a more useful product. Usually in the distillation, the distillate, which is the top product or a vaporized product, is our main product. So vapors are the condensed and collected, whereas in the evaporation, vapors we never collect the vapors. Then concentrated product is obtained after evaporation. Whatever the water is just evaporated, it will leave behind the concentrated product in the evaporation. Whereas in distillation, distillate is obtained. Already I said you the vapors which are coming from the top of the distillation column will be condensed in a condenser and collected as a distillate. Okay, and the next difference is used for obtaining concentrated product and removing impurities. Okay, in the concentration of juice, the impurity is a water. So that impurity we will just release to the environment, and concentrated product we will collect. Whereas in distillation, used for separation and purification of liquids from mixtures. Okay, two or more components of a useful components will be present in the mixture. That among those one, the useful component will be separated, and the residual product will be left into the state. So the examples for the evaporation is one thing is the juice concentration is the example for the evaporation, and the next one is evaporation of a sugar solution. Okay, in the sugar solution, what is sugar is a non-volatile solute, and water is a volatile solvent. So volatile solvent we are leaving to the atmosphere, whereas non-volatile solute we are considering as our useful product. So this is the example for the evaporation. And the next example is in the synthesis of soap. Okay, in the manufacturing of soap, we have seen the white sweet glycerin. Sweet glycerin. In the sweet glycerin, what we are obtaining 15 to 20% concentration of glycerol in water we are obtaining. That is nothing but a sweet glycerin, we will say. So that glycerin purification, the distillation column, the evaporation is very much useful. So in this sweet glycerin. Uh, Sweet glycerin separation, the glycerin is the non-volatile solute or a negligible volatile solute, but water is a more volatile solvent in that one. So in the evaporation, the glycerol will be collected and the water will be left to the atmosphere. So these are the examples for the evaporation. Where are the examples for the distillation is separation of alcohol, we can say. So alcohol, in particularly ethanol and water. Ethanol is a more volatile component compared to the water, or methanol and water. In the methanol and water composition, more volatile component is the methanol. In the ethanol and water composition, ethanol is the more volatile component. We can separate the more volatile component ethanol from the less volatile component water. So that is the example for the distillation. And the next example is the separation of oxygen and nitrogen from the air, or separation of oxygen, nitrogen, and argon from the air. Whatever the elements which are present in the air will be separated out using the cryogenic distillation or the low temperature distillation. In particular, we can say the particular difference between the distillation is in distillation, all the components being separated will have reasonable volatility. So water will have a reasonable volatility and alcohol will have a reasonable volatility. That is the meaning of this statement. In distillation, all the components being separated will have reasonable volatility, and the separation is based on relative volatility between those components. Okay, between water and alcohol components. Whereas, but in evaporation, separation of a solution containing a volatile solvent. Here, the volatile solvent is a water from a non-volatile solute. The non-volatile solute like sugar, non-volatile solute like glycerol. So this is the examples we can particularly Out of these examples, we can conclude, we can derive this statement. In distillation, all the components being separated will have a reasonable volatility, and the separation is based on the relative volatility in the distillation. Whereas in evaporation, separation is a solution. Separation containing a volatile solvent and non-volatile solvent. So this is the difference between evaporation and okay, then if you have any doubts, you can ask me. I will stop here. Otherwise, I will continue. Shall I continue?
Continue, sir.
Okay. Yeah. I hope you understood the earlier sections. So evaporation, you might have noticed in the distillation and evaporation, everything will be taking place due to the vaporization only. In particular, this is evaporation is taking place due to vaporization, and distillation also taking place due to vaporization. Okay, more than this vaporization, condensation is also there in the distillation. But evaporation is the main mechanism in separating the components or in concentrating the components. So what is vaporization? So what is vaporization? Vaporization is nothing but a vaporization of any element or a component is nothing but a phase transition from a liquid phase to the vapor. That is called a vaporization. Okay, there are two types of vaporization. As you can notice here, in the vaporization, the water from the pond is just vaporizing, or in particularly we can call it as a evaporation. Okay, because the water is just evaporating from the surface of the pond, from the surface of the liquid, from the surface of the water. So it is called as a evaporation to the sun, towards the, due to the heat from to the atmosphere, due to the heat produced from the sun. Then this particular vapor will be condensed. This is a cycle. This is a visual phenomena in our atmosphere. Okay, this is taking place. So this is called, overall this is called a vaporization. Vaporization only the main mechanism in evaporating this water. Okay, so there are two types of vaporizations. One is the evaporation, and next one is the boiling. Okay, there are two types of vaporization. One is evaporation, and another one is the boiling. So how this evaporation and boiling is different from each other? Though they in a combined form they will call as a vaporization, but they are two different forms. So evaporation is the surface phenomenon, whereas boiling is nothing but a bulk phenomenon. In the bulk of liquid, if you can observe, the bubbles or the vapors will be formed from if you consider this as a liquid surface. If you consider this as a liquid surface, the bubbles or the vapors will form from the below the liquid surface. So bubbles will be formed inside this bulk of the liquid. Then it will rise from the bulk of the bottom of the liquid surface to the above the liquid surface. Here, if you see in the evaporation, it is a surface phenomenon. Evaporation here, if you see this drop, the evaporation, how it is taking place due to the surface. At the surface, this liquid is just evaporating. This is going outside. This is going into the atmosphere. So this is a surface phenomena. From the surface, the mass transfer is taking place. Whereas here in the boiling, from the inside, from the bulk of the liquid, so the bubbles are producing inside, below the surface. If you consider this as a liquid surface, below this liquid surface only, these bubbles are forming, and these bubbles are rising from the liquid. You can observe in the heat transfer, pool boiling of liquids. Okay, in the pool boiling of liquids, this is a clear mechanism. First bubble will be formed, initiation, nucleation. Okay, I don't remember exactly. Nucleation, that curve will be there, boiling point curve. In the boiling point curve, that initiation will be there, then the nucleation will be there, then last one, radiation will be there. Okay, this is a clear mechanism you can observe in the heat transfer course during the pool boiling of a liquids. So in the boiling, just here we have to differentiate what is evaporation, what is the boiling. Okay, though there are two types of vaporization, one is evaporation, one is a boiling. So out of that, evaporation is nothing but a surface phenomena. From the surface of the liquid, the evaporation is taking place, the vaporization is taking place, and this liquid is just going from the liquid phase to vapor phase. But here, from below the surface of the liquid, the vaporization is taking place. The bubbles are forming below the surface of the liquid, and these bubbles are just rising. This is called a boiling, and these two called as a evaporation. Okay, evaporation can take place below the boiling point of that liquid also, but uh, but the boiling will take place only when the particular liquid is reached its boiling point. Boiling point is nothing but a at the temperature at which vapor pressure of this liquid is equal to the surrounding pressure or atmospheric pressure. Then only the boiling will take place. Here, that condition need not to be satisfied. Okay, vaporization pressure can be less than the boiling point of that liquid. So here, if you can see, these are the important points. Evaporation is a phase transition from a liquid phase to the vapor phase that occurs at temperatures below the boiling temperature at a given pressure. So evaporation occurs on the surface. So below the boiling point, this surface, this water molecule is just evaporating. So evaporation is a phase transition from the liquid phase to vapor phase. So vapor phase, you can say, we can differentiate what is vapor and what is liquid. The vapors which are above the critical temperature, okay, is called a gas. The vapors which are below the critical temperature is called a pure vapors. Okay, this is evaporation is differing only to the vapor, not about the gas. Okay, evaporation is the phase transition from the liquid phase to vapor phase that occurs at temperature below the boiling point. The temperature at which below the boiling temperature at a given pressure. Evaporation is a surface phenomenon. So evaporation occurs on the surface. So evaporation only occurs when partial pressure of vapor of a substance is less than the equilibrium vapor pressure. Okay, whereas here the partial pressure or the vapor pressure is in the boiling, the partial pressure is equal to the vapor surrounding pressure. Then only the boiling will occur. Whereas here that condition need not to be satisfied. In the evaporation, when the partial pressure of vapor of a substance is less than the equilibrium vapor pressure, then the evaporation will occur. Then examples for the evaporation is due to constant decreasing pressure. Whenever the constant element is just going into the vaporization state, the pressure will decrease. That vapor pumped out of a solution will eventually leave behind a cryogenic liquid. Okay, whatever the uh, cooled liquid, whatever the film will be there, it will be left in a cryogenic state. Okay, whatever the vapors will, whatever the liquid is there, will just transfer into the surrounding atmosphere. So that's the example. Then the boiling you will see. Boiling is also a phase transition from the liquid phase to the gas phase. Same here also liquid phase to the gas, here liquid phase to the vapor phase, but here it is clear distinction. Liquid phase to the gas phase above the critical point, but here it is a below the critical point. But boiling is the formation of vapor as bubbles of vapor below the surface of the liquid. If this is the surface of the liquid, from the surface the transfer of liquid to vapor is going on, then it is called a evaporation. But below the surface of liquid, the bubbles are forming here. So it is the mechanism of boiling. So this is the statement which is referring to this one. Boiling is also a phase transition from the liquid phase to the gas phase, but boiling is the formation of vapor as bubbles of vapor below the surface of the liquid. Here if you see, these are the bubbles which are forming below the surface of the liquid. So boiling occurs when the equilibrium vapor pressure of a substance is greater than or equal to the environmental pressure or atmospheric pressure. Boiling, when the water will boil, so at 1 atmosphere, what is the boiling point of water? 100 degrees centigrade. How can we define that 100 degrees centigrade? When atmosphere, the pressure around the atmosphere is 1 atmosphere, then only that water will boil at 100 degrees centigrade. For example, if you increase the pressure, if you increase the pressure, what will happen? The water will not boil at 100 degrees centigrade. The boiling point of water will increase. So boiling point elevation, that you will refer in the heat transfer course, in the evaporation, during the evaporation, boiling point elevation, the interesting concept is there. You can study there. Boiling point elevation. How can we elevate the boiling point of a one particular liquid? When we increase the pressure, the boiling point will increase for the water. So we can say boiling point of water is 100 degrees centigrade. Only this 100 degrees centigrade is valid when pressure P is equal to 1 atmosphere. When pressure is more than 1 atmosphere, for example, it is 1.2 atmosphere, then boiling point is not more than 100 degrees centigrade. T will greater than 100 degrees centigrade, not exactly 100 degrees centigrade. When T is equal to 100, that condition is valid at P is equal to 1 atmosphere. Okay, when T is greater than 100, that condition is valid above the atmospheric pressure. Okay, below the atmospheric pressure, when P is less than 1, then the boiling point will decrease. So T will be less than 100 degrees centigrade. Okay, this is the boiling phenomenon. So hope you understood what is evaporation and what is a boiling. Okay, we need to differentiate in both this one. What are the mechanism behind this one? So sublimation. Okay, these are not sublimation or condensation. These are not the vaporization processes. So we need to just differentiate between them. And sublimation, you already know, you already might have studied in the thermodynamic course. Sublimation is nothing but a transition from the solid phase directly to the vapor phase or a gas phase, we can say, neglecting the intermediate liquid phase. Transfer of a constituent element from the solid phase to the vapor phase is called a sublimation. Okay, so it does not involve the liquid phase. So here you can see the example of a dry ice. Nothing, dry ice, we can say dry ice is nothing but a solid CO2, we can call. Here that solid CO2 is just getting from the solid phase to the vapor phase in the surrounding vapor phase. This is called a sublimation. Another example for this sublimation is the naphthalene balls, okay, which we are used in our toilets. The naphthalene balls, because the naphthalene balls will have a clear mechanism in order to sublime them. So sublime means that naphthalene balls which are in the solid state will just vaporize, and it will produce a fragments instead of converting into the liquid. It will just vaporize. Because of that advantage only, we will have a naphthalene balls in the toilets. So next one is the condensation. So condensation is nothing but a transfer of a state of a gas from gas or vapors from gas phase to the liquid phase. Okay, constant elements will be transferred from the gas phase to the liquid phase is called a condensation. How this condensation will take place? By um, removing the heat, whereas vaporization will take place by addition of the heat. But condensation is removal of heat, so it is exactly reverse of the vaporization. So condensation is exactly reverse of the vaporization, because it is accomplished by removing the heat, and the transition is from gas phase to liquid phase. Whereas in the vaporization, by addition of heat, we can convert. The transition is from liquid phase to vapor phase. So this is the clear pictures which depicts the condensation, and this depicts the sublimation process. Okay, hope you understood. Then among all these things, whether it may be a sublimation, whether it may be a condensation, whether it may be vaporization, evaporation, or it may be a boiling, everything, heat is a common. Heat is a common separating agent. So what is heat? Okay, what is heat? It is a form of energy that causes a difference in temperature or a perception of warmth. Okay, temperature is a measure of amount of heat present in the particular system. So heat is nothing but a form of energy only. So heat energy we can directly see. So what is the boiling point, vapor pressure, bubble point, dew point, partial pressure, partial volume, total pressure? What are these, all these quantities? Until now we are referring temperature T, PT, total pressure, PA is equal to partial pressure, PA superscript V is equal to vapor pressure, and everything we are referring. How we are referring to all these quantities? Okay, for example, if you consider this as a pure liquid or a pure water, this is boiling, because the bubbles are forming below the surface of the liquid. So this is boiling. This is also boiling, because the surface below the surface of the liquid, the bubbles are forming. One second. Okay, below the surface of the liquid, the bubbles are forming. We can say this is the boiling. Okay, this is the pure liquid, and this is the mixture of liquids. So how can we differentiate? How can we define the terms inside this pure and inside this mixture? So the first one among those is boiling point. How this boiling will take place? Whenever the pressure, the vapor pressure of this pure liquid is equal to the surrounding pressure or atmospheric pressure, then only equal to or greater than that atmospheric pressure, then only the system, the particular liquid or a water will only boil. So boiling point can be defined as the temperature at which vapor pressure of a liquid equals the pressure surrounding the liquid, and liquid changes into vapor, then the liquid will changes into vapor. Okay, sorry, this one is equals, you can say liquid greater than or equals. Okay, so boiling point is nothing but a temperature at which vapor pressure of a liquid greater than or equal to the, or more than or equal to the pressure surrounding or atmospheric pressure, then the liquid will just change the state from liquid phase to vapor phase. So at which the vapor pressure is equal to the surrounding pressure, then only the particular liquid will boil. So that is called a boiling point of that particular liquid. Then the vapor pressure. Whenever there is a formation, there is a change in state from the liquid phase to the gas phase, the vapors will be forming inside this free space of the chamber. If you close this vessel, the pressure exerted by the vapors which are formed, the pressure exerted by the vapors on the free surface of the liquid, okay, whatever the vapors which are present in this region, the pressure exerted by the vapors on the free surface of the liquid is called a vapor pressure. Okay, the pure liquids will have some vapor pressure. Whenever these vapors are forming in this free space, whatever the pressure they will exist is called as a vapor pressure. So we can define here the pressure exerted by a vapor in thermodynamic equilibrium with its condensed phase, solid or liquid, at a given temperature in a closed system. So the pressure, the vapors which are um, produced here will have some pressure, that is called a vapor pressure. This vapor pressure definition and this boiling point definition is valid only when the liquid, this liquid is a pure form. Okay, then what about the mixture form? When some mixture is there, mixture is nothing but more than one component. When more than one component is there in the system, what are the quantities we have to refer to? So bubble point will come into the role first. So bubble point, what is the bubble point? Okay, the temperature at which the first drop of the bubble, first drop of the vapor will form is called a bubble point. Okay, first drop of a bubble or the first drop of a vapor will form is a bubble point, especially in the mixture. Okay, the temperature at which the first drop of a bubble will form in a pure state is called a boiling point. Okay, the temperature at which the first drop of a vapor will form or a first drop of a bubble will form is when the components are present in a mixture is called a bubble point. So that is the bubble point temperature. And the dew point, what is the dew point? Dew point for the pure liquid is the temperature at which the first drop of a liquid will form from the vapors is called a boiling point. That is also a boiling point. So for the pure liquids, boiling point is equal to the bubble point is equal to the dew point. Okay, for the pure liquid, only one single liquid is there in the system, that is bubble point is equal to boiling point is equal to dew point. Whereas in the mixtures, the temperature at which the first drop of a vapor will appear, but the first drop of a bubble will appear from the liquid is called a bubble point. And the temperature at which the first drop of a liquid will appear from the vapor is called a dew point. Okay, or at which it condenses. The point at which the vapor will condense is called a dew point. The point at which the liquid will convert to the vapor is called a vaporization point or a bubble point. So these are the bubble point. Bubble point and dew points are defined for the mixture, whereas boiling point and vapor pressures are defined for the pure components. Then other components like partial pressure. So here the pressure exerted by this pure liquid is called a vapor pressure, whereas when in a mixture form, when more than one component is there, the individual pressures exerted by the particular components is called a partial pressure. Okay, when it is a pure form, it is called a vapor pressure. When it is a mixture form, it is called a partial pressure. Okay, you need to differentiate between these one. What is a pure? What is a mixture? What are the mixture properties? What are the pure properties? In the pure form, the pressure exerted by these vapors of this liquid is called a vapor pressure. When it is a mixture form, the pressure exerted by the vapors of this constituent liquid is called a partial pressure. So this is called a partial pressure. Individually, the partial pressures are different from the different components. Then what is the partial volume? The partial volume for the pure component is the volume occupied by this pure component, the total volume. Okay, partial volume. Partial volume for the mixture is if this mixture is composed of two components, A and B. So partial volume is nothing but volume of A and volume of B. Is called a volume of A is VA and volume of B is called VB. Then the total volume is VB. For the pure component, total volume is equal to the partial volume. Whereas for the mixture of components, sum of the partial volumes is called a total volume. Then next one is the total pressure. What is the total pressure? Here if you see the pressure exerted by the by the vapors on the surface of the liquid is called a vapor pressure. That is same as the total pressure. Okay, total pressure of this system. But in the mixture form, so some of the partial pressures exerted by the vapors of this mixture is called a total pressure. Then the total volume. Total volume for the pure mixture is the volume occupied by this pure liquid, whereas the total volume occupied by the mixture is sum of the partial volumes is called a total volume. So we need to differentiate between pure and mixture of components, because in the distillation more than one component is involved, not a pure component is involved. So mixture of components are involved. So we have to study the mixture properties here. So here it is a condensation. You can see what is a condensation. By removing the heat, whatever the vapors are there, it is condensing. Time is there. Okay, then I hope you understood. If you have any doubts until now, we have discussed many things. Okay, until now we will stop this, and binary component system we will study later. Tomorrow class is not very good. Yeah. In the next class we will study binary component system. Okay, we are just defining for every components until here. After that the system will be very easy, because we are assuming that our system is composed of two binary components. Only two components are involved. Okay, you need not to, according to your syllabus, you need not to study about the multi-component systems. Okay, more than two components we don't have to go. Only binary component systems are there according to your syllabus. Okay, it may be very easy when you understood all these concepts. What is a pure component?
Till
What is
binary.
Yes.
Till binary
Yes.
we have already studied in CPP course.
Okay, CPP.
And also
okay,
in the
okay, that's different. You might have seen only the single component, simple batch distillation. Yes, yes, yes.
Sir,
For the binary, you might have studied only F is equal to D plus W. That equation you remember. XF F is equal to DXD plus W. Okay, here it is a little bit complex, because we have to study continuous distillation, flash distillation, and everything. So here the concept is design concept, whereas in CPP it is a basic concept. Okay, you might. So binary component, now the system will be largely simplified for you. So we have to study what is Raoult's law, how these pressures are related: vapor pressure, partial pressure, mole fractions, bubble point, dew point, and this boiling point, total volume, partial volume, how they are related. So by using these laws, Raoult's laws, Dalton's laws, Amagat's law, Henry's law, all these laws are useful to relate that all the quantities which we have defined for the mixtures. So volatility, what is volatility, what is relative volatility, we can define. We can summarize how the relative volatility will influence the boiling point, how it is influenced the vapor pressures, we will study. Then what is the equilibrium, vapor liquid equilibrium, what is the Gibbs phase rule. Okay, you might have studied in the CPP course Gibbs phase rule also. Once again we will try to revise that one. And vapor liquid equilibria, constant pressure equilibria, constant temperature equilibria. Then ideal solution, what is the ideal solution, what is the negative deviation from ideality, what is the positive deviation from ideality. We will study all these things. Then next part B is the types of distillation. So we will study all these things. Let's see. Any doubt, you can stop me anywhere, because these concepts are little bit complex, and when you don't understand, when you don't differentiate between pure and mixture properties, then it will be very, very, very confusing. Okay, you can stop anywhere, you can ask me. Yeah. We will continue in the next class. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.